Caught in the act, the sun was high above the dusty market street, where alien traders shouted and haggled in strange tongues. The air was thick with the smell of roasted meat, rusted metal, and desperation. In the middle of the crowd, a woman moved carefully, her cloak torn and dirty, hiding her face. She wasn't from this planet. Her skin had a soft violet glow, and her long silver hair was tucked under a scarf. Her eyes scanned the stalls, not with curiosity but with hunger. A small child followed her, barefoot and weak, holding tightly to her hand. His stomach growled louder than his tiny voice. They hadn't eaten in 2 days. The mother's hands shook as she passed a food stall. The smell of warm bread made her chest ache. She looked at her child, who was now sitting on the ground, eyes half closed from exhaustion. She couldn't wait any longer. She reached for a loaf of bread when the shopkeeper spun around. "Thief!" he roared, grabbing her wrist. The mother gasped. The bread fell to the ground. A crowd gathered within seconds, humans and aliens alike. They pointed, whispered, and some laughed. "Disgusting alien scum," someone muttered, "stealing from honest traders. She should be punished," the child cried loudly now, pulling at his mother's leg. The shopkeeper raised his hand as if to strike her. She raised her arms to shield herself. "I'm sorry," she said in broken English. "My child, he is hungry, please." "No excuses," the shopkeeper shouted. "You steal, you suffer." But, before his hand could fall, someone grabbed his arm. The crowd went quiet. A tall man stepped forward. Human, dressed in worn-out military gear, dust on his boots and scars on his face. His eyes were calm but sharp. He looked like someone who had seen many battles, and won most of them. "She's with me," the man said firmly. The shopkeeper stared at him. "You know this thief?" "No," the soldier said, pulling a few credits from his pocket. "But I know hunger, and I know when someone needs help, not punishment." He dropped the coins on the stall. "Paid in full." The shopkeeper grumbled but didn't argue. The soldier bent down and picked up the bread, handing it to the woman. She looked up at him, confused. "Why?" The soldier didn't answer. He simply looked at the child, then back at her. "Come with me." They walked in silence through the back alleys, far from the crowd. The mother held the bread close to her chest, tearing off small pieces to feed her son. The boy ate like he hadn't eaten in years. After a while, the soldier stopped near a small water pump. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "You're not from around here," he said. The woman nodded slowly. "We ran from war. My planet is gone. My people betrayed me." "Name?" She hesitated. "Sira. My son's name is Alan." The soldier looked at her carefully. "Why steal? Why not ask for help?" "No one helps us," she said quietly. "We are unwanted. They call us parasites." The soldier's jaw tightened. He looked away, remembering something. "I've seen war. I've seen children starve. You did what any mother would do." She blinked, surprised at his words. No one had ever spoken to her with kindness since she came to this planet. "Thank you," she whispered, "for saving me." "I didn't save you," he replied. "Not yet." A moment passed. The child finished eating and fell asleep in her arms. The soldier took off his outer jacket and handed it to her. "Take this. It's cold at night." She held the jacket tightly. "What's your name?" she asked. He paused. "Damon." She repeated it softly. "Damon." The wind blew softly around them. In that silent, forgotten corner of the world, two strangers from different planets sat together, tied not by blood or tribe, but by hunger, pain, and a small act of mercy. Neither of them knew that this moment would change their futures forever. The soldier's question. The night was quiet but not peaceful. Damon walked through the alley with Sira and her son close behind. Elin, the small boy, clung to his mother's arm, already asleep in her hold. His face was pale under the moonlight. The lights of the city blinked far behind them, like stars dying out one by one. They stopped outside a rusted door in the wall of an old building. Damon typed in a code on a hidden panel, and the door creaked open. Inside it was dark and cold, but safe. "This place is abandoned," he said. "No one's supposed to know it exists." Sierra didn't speak. She looked around the small room, cracked walls, a metal table, one broken chair, and a military blanket on the floor. Still, to her, it was a palace. No yelling, no threats, no pointing fingers. Just silence. She laid her son down gently on the blanket. Damon lit a small lamp. Its yellow light made the space feel a little warmer. "Sit," he said, pulling the chair toward her. She obeyed. Damon crouched across from her, elbows on his knees. "I want to know the truth now," he said, voice steady. "You weren't just some beggar on the street." Sierra looked at her hands. "No. Who are you really?" She looked up, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "I was a medic in the Varellan fleet. We weren't soldiers, but when the war came, we were forced to fight." "You were in the war?" Damon asked, shocked. She nodded. "My team saved hundreds, maybe more. But when the war ended, the Empire collapsed. Some of us were blamed. They said we let humans live, that we were traitors." Damon's brow furrowed. "Wait. You saved humans during the war?" Sierra nodded again. "Your people weren't all enemies. Some were injured. Some were just caught in between. I did what I thought was right. They called it weakness." He leaned back against the wall, exhaling deeply. "I lost my unit near Velnaris. 10 men. Shot down by a drone strike. No survivors except me." "I remember Velnaris," Sierra whispered. "We treated a human soldier that week. His legs were gone. Still tried to fight." Damon's eyes widened. "That was my captain. He died with a blade in his hand." They sat in silence for a long time. Then Damon asked softly, "So why didn't you leave this planet?" Sierra's voice broke. "I tried. I begged. But no ship takes aliens with children. No money, no ID. We were stuck, hiding. I sold everything, just to keep Elin alive." Damon looked at the sleeping child. His breathing was shallow, his ribs too visible. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "They'll find you." "They already tried," Sierra whispered. "Twice. I ran both times. I have nowhere else to go." He stood up and started pacing. "They'll scan the markets, ask questions. Someone saw me help you." He stopped. "Which means I'm on their list now too." Sierra stood slowly. "I'm sorry. I didn't want this." He turned toward her. "I'm not blaming you. Just trying to figure out the next move." She looked at him with tired eyes. "Why did you help me?" Damon didn't answer right away. He stared at the wall for a long moment, then said, "Because I once watched a mother die in front of her son. And I couldn't do anything. I swore I'd never let it happen again." A strange silence passed between them. Not cold, not awkward, just real. Sierra stepped closer. "I can work, heal, treat wounds. You saved me once. Let me save you back." Damon looked at her, unsure what to say. This alien woman, this so-called enemy, was standing in front of him like a reflection of something he'd lost. He finally nodded. "Then you stay here tonight. Tomorrow, we find a better place. But from now on, we move together." Her shoulders dropped like a weight lifted. "Thank you, Damon." "Don't thank me yet," he said. "This just got dangerous." Suddenly, a beep came from Damon's old communicator. He picked it up. A message blinked across the cracked screen. "Unregistered energy signal near Zone 14. Possible illegal. Alien, investigate." His jaw clenched. "They're already looking for you." He turned to Sierra. "We need to leave. Before sunrise." Shadows on the street. The city never truly slept. Even in the darkest hours of the night, distant sirens howled like metal wolves. Neon lights flickered above broken rooftops, and small patrolling drones buzzed through the air like angry insects. Damon moved fast, his steps quiet, his mind alert. Sierra followed closely behind, cradling her half-asleep son in her arms, her violet skin hidden beneath a long, patched-up cloak. Every few seconds she glanced over her shoulder, eyes wide, heart racing. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "A friend's place," Damon said without stopping. "Off-grid, no cameras. He owes me." They ducked into a side alley, just as a patrol cruiser hummed past on the main road. The blue light scanned the streets, searching. But the trio stayed hidden in the shadows. Elin stirred in Sierra's arms. "Mama." "Shh," she whispered, kissing his forehead. "It's okay. Just hold on." They reached an old building covered in ivy and rust. Damon knocked 3 times, waited, then knocked twice again. The metal door creaked open. A short man with goggles and wild hair peeked out. "Damon?" "Let us in, Saul." The man looked at Sierra and Elin, raised an eyebrow, but didn't argue. He stepped aside. Inside, the place looked like a mad scientist's cave. Wires, broken, tech, old plasma rifles, and half-eaten noodles stacked around glowing monitors. "This better not be another bounty setup," Saul muttered. "Last time you brought someone in, I had to erase 6 different ID logs. This one's different," Damon said, locking the door. "They're being hunted." Saul looked at Sierra again, longer this time. "She's not just an alien," he said. "She's Varellan." Sierra froze. Damon stepped in front of her. "Yeah." "So?" Saul narrowed his eyes. "There's a price on her head, big one, enough to buy a life on the moon colonies." "I don't care," Damon snapped. "You're not turning her in." Saul smirked. "Relax, soldier boy, I'm not a snitch, but if you're keeping her here, I need to erase every trace." He walked to his console and started typing furiously. "Sit," Damon told Sierra. "You're safe for now." She sat down on a low bench, rocking Elin gently. Her fingers trembled. "Your friend, and he knew who I was just by looking. Saul's paranoid, he studies everything," Damon said. "But he won't betray us." Sierra nodded, though her eyes remained uncertain. Suddenly, one of Saul's monitors beeped. "Uh-oh." Damon stepped closer. "What?" Saul pointed at a red dot blinking on the screen. "Scanner drone passed this area 20 minutes ago. It picked up alien DNA traces. They're backtracking now." "How long before they find this place?" "Maybe 1 hour, maybe less." Damon clenched his fists. "I'll lead them away." "What?" Sierra stood up. "No, Damon, if they find you, I've done worse," he said, "and I won't let them take you." He looked at Saul. "Keep them hidden. No mistakes." Saul nodded grimly. "I'll trigger the rooftop tunnel. Gets them into the water tunnels beneath the city." Damon turned to Sierra, handed her a small comm chip. "You hear my voice on this? It means run, don't wait, don't look back." Sierra gripped it tight, her voice low and shaking. "Why are you doing this for us?" He looked at her, really looked. The sadness in her eyes, the fear, the strength. "Because I couldn't save the last family I watched die. I'm not making the same mistake again." He opened the door, stepped into the night, and vanished into the street. Minutes passed. Then, a voice crackled over the chip. "2 drones above, I'll draw them east. You move now. Go." Saul grabbed a crowbar, lifted a metal panel on the ceiling, revealing a narrow ladder. "Ladies first," he said, trying to joke. "Straight up. Tunnel's tight but safe." Sierra climbed up with Elin in one arm, gripping each rung with raw desperation. The ladder led to a vent pipe, and from there, into a cold, narrow maintenance corridor. Saul handed her a map and whispered, "Follow the red lines. You'll come out near the old trainyard. I'll block their scans." "Thank you," she said softly. He winked. "Just don't make me regret this." Up above, Damon ran through the dark streets, leaping over crates, leading the patrol bots further and further from the safe house. He threw a metal shard into the alley, triggering a false alien signature. One drone stopped to scan it. He turned a corner and came face to face with 2 enforcers. "Halt!" Damon raised his hands. Too late. They tackled him to the ground. "Back," In the tunnels, Sierra paused. Her comm buzzed. But it wasn't Damon's voice. It was static. Then a strange robotic signal. She froze. "Something's wrong," she whispered. Bonds of fire. The smell of smoke filled the tunnel. Sierra coughed as she crawled forward, the metal walls around her growing warmer with each step. She held Elin close to her chest, wrapping him in Damon's jacket to protect him from the heat. The comm chip buzzed again, but still no voice, only static. She paused, pressed it against her ear. "Damon? Are you there?" Nothing. Elin stirred. "Mama, it's hot." "I know, baby," she whispered. "We're almost there. Just a little more." She pulled herself toward the exit hatch marked in red. The map Saul gave her said it would lead to a train yard, abandoned, hidden, safe. But when she pushed the hatch open, firelight exploded in her face. The train yard was in flames. Above ground, everything had gone wrong. Damon had been dragged by the enforcers to a mobile scan unit. They forced him to his knees, pressed a scanner to his temple. Human. No warrant, no ID match. Possible accomplice, the officer said coldly. The second one loaded a shock round into his rifle. "We'll make him talk." Damon smiled through bloody lips. "You think I'll break for rookies like you?" Before they could respond, Damon head-butted the first guard, stole his sidearm, and ducked behind a crate. Plasma shots lit up the alley. Damon rolled, fired, hit one in the shoulder. That gave him just enough time to tap his wrist device. A small charge exploded at the edge of the yard. He wasn't running anymore. He was leading them straight into chaos. Back. At the burning train yard, Sierra stepped out from the tunnel, coughing hard. Ash fell like black snow. She pulled Elin behind a large, rusted train car, shielding him from the heat. In the distance, shouting. Plasma fire. Screams. She saw Damon. He was limping, gun in one hand, blood running down his arm. 2 enforcers were chasing him. One fired. A stun blast, barely missed. Damon turned and shot one square in the chest. The last one tackled him from behind. Sierra didn't think. She moved. She ran across the yard like a shadow, heart pounding, feet burning against the hot ground. She grabbed a broken pipe and smashed it into the enforcer's head. He staggered, turned, and she struck again and again, until he stopped moving. Damon lay still. "Damon!" she cried, dropping beside him. He looked up, barely conscious. Why did you come back?" "Because I couldn't let you die for us," she said, her voice cracking. She placed her hand over his wound. Her palm glowed faintly. "What are you doing?" he muttered. "Healing," she said. "It's what I used to do, before the war turned me into a ghost." Her alien energy flowed into his body, just enough to stop the bleeding. Damon groaned, but his breathing steadied. "Still think I'm weak?" she asked softly. Damon chuckled. "No, you're a storm." The fire spread quickly, but Sierra pulled him to safety, dragging him behind the old engine. Elin crawled into her lap, wrapping his tiny arms around both of them. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. The fire danced around them, 3 lives, hidden in its glow. Later, when the emergency sirens faded and backup units arrived too late, the train yard was empty. Only ashes remained, and a trail of faint footprints leading into the hills beyond the city. They found shelter in a crumbled observatory, high above the city lights. Damon lay on a makeshift bed, arm bandaged, chest rising slow but steady. Sierra sat nearby, Elin asleep, beside her. She watched Damon sleep for a long time. Not with fear, but with something new. Something strange. Hope. When Damon finally opened his eyes, he saw her silhouette against the window, her silver hair glowing in the starlight. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was standing tall again. "Still alive?" he joked, voice rough. "Barely," she replied with a smile. He sat up slowly. "You saved me. And you saved us." They looked at each other for a long, quiet moment. Then Sierra said something she hadn't said in years. Thank you, Damon, for giving us a reason to believe again. The betrayal. The stars above the ruined observatory blinked like cold witnesses. Damon sat on the edge of the broken dome, cleaning his pistol under the night sky. His arm still throbbed from the wound, but his body was used to pain. What he wasn't used to was peace. Below, Sierra was humming softly. She was fixing a torn blanket with careful hands while Elin lay beside her, finally sleeping without fear. They looked like a family, and that scared him more than any gunfight ever had. That morning, Damon contacted Saul using an encrypted pulse, sign they needed supplies, food, medicine, and a clean ID for Sierra. The call was short but clear. Saul answered with his usual sarcasm. Still alive? You're either lucky or stupid. Damon smirked. Bit of both. You got the ID? Yeah, but it cost me a favor with the synth runners. I'll drop it at the old reactor in 2 hours. Be there, alone. Damon didn't like it. Saul never did anything without a backup plan. But he had no choice. He left quietly. Didn't wake Sierra. Just left a note. I'll be back before sunset. Stay hidden. Keep Elin close. D. The reactor sat like a metal corpse in the heart of the wasteland, its cooling towers cracked and overgrown with weeds. Damon walked across the gravel alone, scanning the shadows. Saul was waiting near the entrance wearing a new jacket and goggles. You brought it? Damon asked. Saul nodded. Biochip. Forged and clean. Even her blood type is on it. Damon reached for it, but Saul didn't let go. Instead, he leaned in. They offered me a ship. Damon, off-world, a real one, for turning you in. Damon froze. You didn't? Not yet? A soft humming sound rose in the air. Damon looked up. 3 drones were already circling above. Red lights locked on. Saul sighed. They know. They tracked you. I just made sure you came to the right place. Damon drew his weapon, but a stun blast hit his back before he could fire. He dropped to his knees. Saul knelt beside him. I warned you, he said softly. You can't save everyone. Back at the observatory, Sierra waited as the sun passed overhead. Damon didn't return. She paced the stone floor, heart pounding, instincts screaming. She scanned the horizon again and again, but no one came. Then Elin stirred and pointed to something outside. A shadow moved near the trees. Sierra grabbed her blade and ran out, only to see a small metallic orb floating toward the observatory. Voice came through the orb, grainy, robotic. Mother of the child. Your protector has been taken. You have 10 minutes to surrender yourself and the boy, or he dies. Her blood turned to ice. She turned to Elin, who clutched her leg, confused and scared. Where is Damon? He asked. Sierra knelt in front of him. Tears welled in her eyes, but she forced a smile. He's coming. But first we have to hide. Deep, where no machines can find us. She carried Elin through a hidden shaft beneath the observatory, one Damon had shown her in case of emergency. It led to an old underground bunker filled with dust and silence. She locked the door behind them and held her son tight. I'm sorry, she whispered. I promised you peace, and now it's war again. Hours passed, then the door exploded. The walls shook. Sierra grabbed Elin and backed into the shadows. Footsteps. Voices. Not human. She fought like a mother beast, wild and brutal. But there were too many. She was overpowered. One of them grabbed Elin. No, she screamed, lunging forward, but a plasma rifle struck her shoulder and everything went black. She awoke in chains. Her head was pounding. Her arms were heavy, and her son was gone. She was inside a transport cell. Cold, metallic, no windows. Just the hum of engines and the faint sound of a child crying in another room. Then a voice came from the speaker above. Male. Human. I'm sorry, Sierra. Her breath caught. Damon? Yes, he said quietly. Where are you? What's happening? I tried to protect you. I failed. No, she whispered. They took Elin. I know, and I'm going to get him back. He paused. But you need to know the truth first. Sol betrayed me. He sold my coordinates. I was captured, but I escaped. Then why am I here? Because I let them take you, Damon said. Silence. They were going to kill Elin on the spot. I made a deal, your location in exchange for his life. Sierra's heart shattered. You gave me up. I bought us time. Now I'm coming for you both. I swear it, Sierra. This isn't the end. Tears ran down her cheeks. If you lie, if you let them take him again, I'll never forgive you. I won't, Damon said. I'll burn the sky to bring him home. Outside the prison ship, a small signal beacon blinked red. Damon stood on a rocky cliff staring at the clouds above. His armor was patched, his weapon charged. And this time, he wasn't fighting to survive. He was fighting to save what mattered most. The storm inside. The prison ship hovered above the burnt horizon like a silent predator. Inside, cold steel walls hummed with electric menace. Red lights pulsed across corridors. Sierra sat on the floor of her cell, wrists still bound, body aching. But her heart was pure flame. They had her son, and they would regret it. In a chamber 2 levels above, Elin sat alone in a cage made of blue plasma bars. He was shaking, holding onto the edge of the wall, calling softly, "Mama, where are you?" No one answered. But far below, someone was coming. Someone very angry. Damon crouched in the shadows of the ship's cargo bay. He'd gotten in through the old smuggler vents, routes only a soldier-turned renegade like him knew existed. He wore black armor marked with ash and blood, his eyes locked forward, calm but burning inside. On his back, a stolen plasma rifle. On his belt, a charge detonator, set to blow the ship's engines if needed. He wasn't here to escape. He was here to end it. A guard turned the corner, barely had time to gasp before Damon slammed a knife into his neck and dragged him into the dark. One down. He moved like a ghost now. Silent. Focused. Each breath, each step, was a countdown to war. He reached the central control deck. 2 guards. 1 command officer. He activated the room's fire suppression manually. Steam blasted in through the vents. Confusion. Screams. He used it. By the time the smoke cleared, all 3 were down. Damon stood at the console, searching the logs. Cell. Block 2A, alien female, high value, detained, medical status, stable, offspring, separated. He growled. You took the wrong child. In her cell, Sierra's eyes snapped open, alarms began to blare, red sirens flashed across the ceiling. Breach. Detected. Deck 3 compromised. Intruder identified, human male, armed. Sierra laughed bitterly. He came. 2 guards rushed to her cell. One shouted, "Move back from the door." But she didn't move, because in the next second, boom, the wall behind them exploded inward. Damon stormed through the smoke, eyes blazing. The first guard lifted his rifle. Damon shot him in the throat. The second tried to run. Sierra kicked him to the floor. Damon didn't hesitate. 1 clean shot. Gone. The cell door opened. Damon rushed to her, knelt, broke her cuffs with a magnetic cutter. She stared at him, stunned. You came alone? I don't need an army, he growled. Not when they took you. For a second, she didn't know whether to hug him or scream. So she did both. Then she pushed him back. They still have Elin. I know, Damon said. He's 2 floors up. Let's go. No, I'm going. You get the exit route ready. Damon shook his head. Sierra, you trusted me once, trust me now. Damon hesitated, then handed her a sidearm. 3 shots. Don't waste them. She nodded, kissed Elin's scarf that hung from her waist and vanished into the corridor. Elin sat curled in the corner of his cage, tears drying on his cheeks. The door opened. He looked up, eyes wide. Sierra stood there, gun drawn, body shaking. Baby, she whispered. Mama, He ran to her, and she dropped the gun just in time to catch him in her arms. Her body wrapped around him like armor, but footsteps echoed behind her. An officer appeared, gun aimed. "You think you're taking him?" Sierra stood in front of her. "Child, I'm not asking," she said. The officer fired. But Damon appeared like a shadow, shot him mid-sentence, then kicked his body aside. "You always steal my good lines," Sierra said, breathing hard. "Couldn't let you have all the fun." They ran. Damon held Elin as they sprinted through the emergency access shaft. Sierra covered their back, firing down the hallway as enemy forces gave chase. "We're not going to make it to the launch deck," she yelled. "We don't need to," Damon shouted. "We jump." "What?" He slammed a button on the wall. A metal door hissed open, revealing the open sky. Wind roared in. Below them, desert, far and wide. "Hold him tight," Damon said. Sierra didn't argue. Together, they jumped. They hit the sand hard, but alive. Behind them, the ship spun wildly in the air, then exploded in a burning halo. Damon's planted charges finally going off. Sierra clutched Elin in her arms, crying and laughing at once. Damon sat beside them, bloodied but alive. Elin looked up at him wide-eyed. "You came back?" Damon smiled. "I promised your mom I'd burn the sky for you." The child leaned forward, hugged him tightly. "I love you," Elin whispered. Damon froze, and for the first time in years, he felt whole again. A new beginning. A month had passed. The desert wind still howled at night, but inside the canyon walls of the forgotten village, there was warmth, real warmth. Not just from firewood, but from laughter, from safety, from the kind of silence that didn't carry fear. Damon stood outside a clay-built shelter, watching the orange sun sink into the sand dunes. He wore loose earth-toned robes now, his soldier armor buried somewhere deep in the desert. His rifle sat untouched by the door. He hadn't needed it in days, but his hand still twitched sometimes. Out of habit, out of memory. Behind him, inside, the home, Sierra was teaching Elin how to write his name. Her voice was soft, patient, motherly. "Line here, Elin." "Yes, good. Now the circle. That's your E." Elin giggled. "It looks like a potato." She laughed. "Then you're a very smart potato." Damon smiled, listening. That laugh, it sounded like healing, like someone finally breathing after holding their breath for years. He stepped inside. Elin looked up, beaming. "Damon, I drew you." The boy pointed to a wobbly sketch on the wall. Stick figure, big shoulders, spiky hair, and a giant smile. Damon bent down and studied it like art. Handsome. Sierra raised an eyebrow. "That's a generous word." "Flattering," Damon replied. "I like it." Later that evening, they sat by the fire. Elin fell asleep with his head in Sierra's lap, fingers tangled in the hem of her cloak. Damon poured tea into 2 chipped cups. "He's getting stronger," Damon said. "He sleeps without crying now," Sierra whispered. "First time since the camps." There was a long pause between them. Not awkward, just full. Then Sierra looked up, straight into Damon's eyes. "You could leave, you know. You've done enough." Damon didn't answer. "You're free now," she continued. "The bounty's gone. The ship's destroyed. No one's chasing us." "I'm not staying, because I have to," Damon said. "Then why?" He stared into the fire. "I was trained to protect the living, but all my life I only buried the dead. Until I met you." Her eyes softened. "You saved me," he said. "Not just from the enforcers, but from becoming something cold. You reminded me who I used to be." "And what are you now?" He looked at Elin, then at her. Maybe something better. The days passed. Damon hunted. Sierra healed villagers with her alien knowledge. Elin played with the children, told stories of flying ships and brave humans and magic lights. No one questioned where they came from. The village didn't care. They only cared that the family brought peace. One night, Elin crawled into Damon's lap and looked up. "Are you my real dad now?" Damon blinked. Sira froze, holding her breath. "I don't have to be," Damon said gently. "But I can be, if you want." Elin nodded slowly. "I want." Damon pulled him into a hug. Sira smiled quietly to herself. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Weeks later, Damon carved a small wooden sign and placed it above the door. It read, "Home." Just that. No name, no title, no history, just truth. A human, an alien, a child, a family, built not by blood, but by sacrifice, trust, and fire. And though the stars above them still burned with the wars of other worlds, inside this tiny corner of sand and stone, there was peace. The kind that lasts, the kind that changes everything.